Hi, I'm Saffie, and today we're talking about healthy habits that actually work for students. That's ways to stay energised and motivated while struggling uni life between lectures, part-time jobs, social life. It can feel like surviving just the week. So we're asking which habits really help students stay on top of things, which is easier said than done. We'll hear what's being tried and tested and proven to work by students themselves. So welcome, George and Jess.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's George White. I'm a second year student here at the Chichester University and I study creative writing and history.
And my name's Jess, and I'm a third year physiotherapy student.
Lovely. So before we get started, we've got a cup full of questions here. George, why don't you grab one and we'll see what it says.
All right.
Most unusual talent or party trick you have? That's a good question, actually. I've been known to sometimes randomly get up from my seat and start dancing whenever I hear a song which I quite like, and everybody will just stop and stare, and they will either applaud or just look at each other and think, that kid needs therapy.
Jess, you want to have a go?
What's your go-to snack during lectures? Probably quite boring. I quite like the Grey's oaty bars.
Nice,
And
yeah.
I feel like they're not too noisy during lectures either, so that's...
Yeah, you don't want something that's smelly or noisy,
No.
really, do you?
No.
Lovely. All right. So, George, you're a second year creative writing and history student, and Jess, you're a final year physiotherapy student. So, how do you both feel that you found a routine that works for you? Is it something you're still figuring out as you go? Because, you know, uni schedules can differ semester to semester. George?
Obviously, when you have a variety of lectures spread out across 5 days at different times, for example, one could be in the morning, one could be later in the afternoon. Obviously, you do have to try and work around those and see how they fit into your schedule, because sometimes they can shake up what you have plans. What your plans, like, for example, you might want to go to the gym at lunchtime, but you can't do that because you've got to get to a lecture at 2. I find that shifting things around to accommodate for lectures isn't necessarily a bad thing, because at the end of the day, the lectures are the reason students are here at Chichester University. They're here to learn, they're here to study, they're here to go on and hopefully get a job. Hopefully, that's fingers crossed.
Lovely. So what does a typical week look like for you, like right now?
Right now, well, I have two lectures on Monday, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Tuesday, I'm not doing anything, so I typically have a free day then. Wednesday, I have another lecture in the morning, and then Thursday and Friday are mostly empty apart from another lecture which happens on Friday afternoon. So thankfully, my lectures are kind of spread out across the week. They aren't just bundled together in like 1 or 2 days, which I honestly think is preferable, because if they were all squeezed into 1 or 2 days, then you would probably feel a bit burnt out at the end of, say, I don't know, they were squeezed together on Tuesday and Wednesday. You would feel pretty burnt out by Wednesday, and you wouldn't really be in the mood to, say, go to social or wishy. Not that I do wishy, but that's just an example I could comparatively give to any students who are out there listening.
Lovely. And what do you do between lectures and stuff then?
What do? I get on with coursework. That's probably the most important thing you can do. I also exercise. It's important to stay fit and healthy, which I think we'll probably touch on later on in this episode. Because, you know, it's all very well getting on with your work. Like, obviously, you want to do that. And sometimes if you've got an important piece of coursework or an important presentation that you have to do, you may want to submit it into your lecturer early and get some feedback, which is something that I've started doing now that I'm in my second year, because it's important for them to have a look and give you advice and some comments, as if to say, it's good, but I think you could improve it here or here, and maybe give you like a mock grade of what it would potentially get. But also at the same time, staying fit and healthy is also important for some students of our age. And, you know, I do pride myself on staying fit and in good shape.
Lovely. And Jess, have you found a routine that's worked out for you?
I feel like it's been quite hard these past couple of years because we both do physio. So last year we had 2 placements and this year we've had 4 placements, and they both last 6 weeks. So our timetable hasn't been the same for more than about 6 weeks. So it's quite hard to get into a good routine with things when your whole life basically changes every 6 weeks. So it's definitely important to have things that you like doing and things that work for you, so you can try and fit those in around your changing routine.
Absolutely. Yeah, I tend to have like a morning routine and an evening routine, and the time that I do them will be different because my placements and my lectures will be different. But I've still got that sort of routine set in. Lovely. Jess, was there ever a point when you realised your routine wasn't working anymore?
We had quite a hard placement together. So we started in Southampton at 7:30 in the morning. And obviously it's like an hour drive from here. So it was a very, very early start. And then some days I'd get home and I'd just be so tired that I just have to go and have a nap. Yeah. And obviously that's not sustainable over a long time. So I kind of knew at that point, like, something needs to give a little bit and I need to figure out what to do.
Yeah, that's so fair. Well, speaking of placements and stuff, Jess, your next placement is on the Isle of Wight. So how do you usually plan your studies around that? So do you typically plan it out in advance or take the tasks as they come?
I try to have an idea of what I would like to get done that week. So like I might set myself some like mini goals that I want to get done. But being on placement is quite hard because you're basically doing a full-time job. So my last placement, I started at 8 and finished at 4, and then also had uni on Fridays as well. So getting back from the island to come to unis on Fridays was quite hard, and I didn't feel like I had like loads of spare time. So setting myself like small, manageable tasks in the evenings that I could do, not every evening, but some evenings that I felt like I had a bit more energy, and then making sure I left like the bulk of my work to the weekend, so I knew I had some like set aside time to be able to do what I needed to do.
Lovely. And George, thinking about what Jess just said, does any of that resonate with you, or do you have a different routine that works?
Well, I'll start off by saying that at the moment I am not on placement. I will probably do a placement in my 3rd year. What that will entail, I don't know yet because I'm still 2nd year. I will say that my routine on a week-to-week basis looks quite different because I have like two main priorities: lectures and exercise. I suppose really a third priority is also the fact that I am part of the swimming society, so I've obviously want to maintain good attendance and keep fit. But I suppose that's kind of a sub branch of the branch of my second important point, staying fit and healthy, because not only with the swim society do you get to exercise, you also get to make new friends. And in the 2 years that I've been with the society, I have made some very good friends, some of whom will be leaving at the end of this year and whom I'm going to miss. And I want to take a moment to shout out to everyone at the University of Chichester Swim Society. I'm sorry I won't be able to mention names, but thank you very much for being great friends and putting up with me as a person, because I am quite a unique individual. So thank you again in advance for that.
Sounds like a lovely society.
It is.
Have you ever had all your work feel like it's just piled up at once?
Yes, there have been times where you have a look at what needs to be done in terms of coursework and assignments, and you think to yourself, oh my word, how on earth am I going to plough through this? But through sheer determination and grit and just locking in, you get it done. And then the next thing you think to yourself, okay, I've got a first draft done. Now I need to submit it and see what's what, because just because you've completed a first draft, that doesn't mean you can just say, right, I don't need to do any more, because that's not really how it works. You've got to get your lecturer to go over it. You've got to get some feedback from them and then improve on it, build upon it, tweak some stuff. And the next thing you know, you've got an even better essay on your hands. Yeah, that's the way I see things.
So essentially, when you feel everything's piling up, you tackle it one task at a time. So
yes,
it feels more.
That's kind of what I'm doing with my coursework at the moment.
Lovely. So healthy habits aren't just physical, they're mental too. University life can sometimes feel non-stop, especially around deadlines and exams. So say you've had a really busy day, a few things haven't gone your way. How would you switch off or unwind after that, Jess?
Sometimes something as simple as just like going for a walk really helps, just to clear your head. And if you've been at uni all day or sat at home all day, sometimes just like having a change of scenery, standing up, moving around a little bit, then coming back, you can like lock in again, or, you know, do your evening routine, like whatever you want to do. I also think making time to see your friends is really important as well. Yeah.
Lovely. And what about you, George?
I would certainly have to agree with what you said there, Jess. I do think it's important to make time for yourself, regardless of whether you go for a walk or exercise, and seeing friends as well, because obviously that really helps your social life. I suppose really in addition to that, I am something of a gamer myself, and you'll have to forgive me if I start talking in some sociolect you might find a bit difficult to understand. But I feel like in the world of gaming can sometimes help you disconnect from everything that's going on in your life. Like one moment you're sat behind a desk plowing through a history essay. The next you're in Chicago, or you're in Night City, or you're in a completely fantastical world. Basically somewhere which is a world away from the realities of life, of, you know, getting work done, and your focus is on, you know, like saving a princess or saving a city or something like that. I typically go for games which focus on a story, but where you can empathize with characters. Your focus is on building interesting relationships and doing good, and not just grinding out, you know, credits or whatever currency is available. Because at the same time, that can also feel like an additional chore, and it's not something you really want building up alongside the coursework or the assignments that you have done. Because in retrospect, if you do that, it can kind of just feel like yet another addition to your life that you don't really need.
Yeah, definitely. So you've mentioned some very different ways of winding down. You both mentioned socialising. So I want to ask, how important is socialising for your well-being? So do you make time to see friends even during your busy periods, or would you say that tends to get pushed towards the back of the priority list? Jess?
I definitely always try to make time to see my friends. I feel like our friend group is quite good. We push each other quite a lot to make sure that we make time for that. It's really important as well, especially if you have friends on your course or friends who are in a similar like position to you, like just sometimes talking to them and having a chat with them, and like, you know, knowing that you're not alone and other people are like not finding it super easy and everyone has like stuff going on really, really helps and makes you feel a little bit better about like your workload and, you know, everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, George?
I can understand where you're coming from with that. I admit that one of my shortcomings as a person is that I have in the past found it rather difficult to make friends. That's mainly because I do find it a little bit difficult to try and connect with people, because obviously you don't know what they like, you don't know whether they have the same interests as you, and I've come to learn that I am someone who has very specific, very niche interests, and I don't tend to follow the crowd, whether it becomes to what they're listening to, what they're watching at the moment, or what it is that they've found on social media, which they find quite interesting. I don't really do that sort of thing. I have other interests which are maybe not quite as interesting or as captivating or will attract as large an audience, but at the same time, there's something in them which makes me think, that looks interesting, and there's more substance to it than whatever new trend is going all the rage on TikTok.
Fair enough. But you mentioned earlier your swim team, so you feel like you've made connections within your swim team.
Yes, I have made a lot of friends within the swim society, which means, you know, whenever I get to see them, we get to have a laugh, we get to have a bit of a chat, and we get to sometimes poke at fun at the mistakes that we've made. And I've certainly made one or two small slip-ups, which have prompted a bit of a laugh from the swim team. I won't share them with you here, but let's just say that they have never stopped teasing me about the incident in Sheffield.
Well, following that, so we mentioned the sort of task building up and the deadlines. Do either of you ever feel guilty for spending time with friends when you know you've got stuff to do in the background? George?
It's a tricky question, because obviously, yes, deadlines are important. You don't want to miss a deadline. You don't want to think to yourself, oh no, I've only got like a few days to finish this essay and I'm still only half done. I haven't submitted it for approval. But at the same time, I guess really, if you prioritize your work over your friends, they're going to start thinking, oh, well, he doesn't really have much of a social life. His focus is on the work and not us. So it can be difficult to try and balance the two out, but I think if you have enough practice and if you commit to the work early, then it will benefit you in both the short term and the long term. Basically, in the short term, you get the work done early for submission, and then in the long term, you've got time to spend with your friends in the lead up to, say, the summer ball, which at the time of recording is a few weeks away, and beyond that, as the summer approaches.
Yeah, lovely. So preparation.
Yeah.
What about you, Jess? Have you ever felt guilty?
I do, yeah. I feel like in first year, I maybe like missed out on some social events and like didn't come to a few things because I was like, oh, I have so much work. But I've learned like over second year and definitely through third year, it's really, really important to take time for yourself and to see your friends, and you feel better after it. And like George said, if you prepare, so like if you have a deadline coming up and you make sure that you get like X amount of work done before you go out, then it's easier to not feel as guilty.
So have either of you reached out for academic support or wellbeing support while you've been at university?
So towards the end of second year, coming over the summer towards third year, I was a bit worried about my dissertation and what I was going to do, and like it was all getting a bit much in my head. So I booked a tutorial with one of our lecturers, and I just went and had a chat with them for like half an hour about everything this related, and it really, really helped just to kind of like piece everything out in my head, and I kind of had like a bit more of a timeline, and it made me feel a lot better about everything that I had coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. George, do you have any experiences?
I have on more than one occasion, I have booked for academic support with regards to a very specific bit of coursework that I was doing, because it was regarding a topic matter with which I was familiar with, but I still needed some clarification about regarding the usage of AI. This was to do with a free choice module that I was doing regarding writing for video games, and it was to do with the cover work for the submission I was going to do, because I am not an illustrator by any means. I'm not very good at drawing. I can write, but art is definitely not my pièce de résistance. So that was one of the main issues I wanted to raise with my lecturer with that particular section. But he said to me, listen, if you just disclose the fact that you used it, you won't be penalised at all. So I thought to myself, okay, well, at least then that's put that issue to rest.
Definitely. So in both your examples, would you say that you felt reassured, you were helped, you were listened to?
Yes, I would say
Lovely.
that.
Yeah, I agree too.
So sometimes uni life can get hectic with the late night study sessions, the deadlines. Things like sleep, exercise and hydration and food intake can really affect our focus, energy and mood levels. So I'm curious, what does this look like for you both? Do you try and stick to routines, or does it change week to week? Jess, starting with you.
It definitely changes depending what I'm doing. I find it harder on placement than at uni, but if I'm at uni and I have a deadline coming up and I know I'm going to have like a long day in the library, I'll definitely make sure that I set aside some time for exercising, like going to the gym or going for a run or a walk.
Lovely. What about you, George?
I can sympathise with what you're saying here. Obviously, not every week is going to be the exact same, repeated for an entire semester. But at the same time, it is important that you make space for putting your head down and getting into the coursework, the assignments that you've got, and also making sure you stay fit and healthy with the exercise that you mentioned.
Lovely. Have either of you pulled an all-nighter before trying to get some work done?
I've definitely stayed up late, but not an all-nighter, no.
In terms of all-nighter stuff, when it comes to university coursework, no. The only time I think I have done something like that was a few weeks ago when I was making a video in my spare time about the recent Ryan Gosling film Project Hail Mary.
Great film. Wow.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like sleep's really important for me. I think you as well, Jess. So for me, I have to try and prioritise sleep, because if I pull an all-nighter, which I have had to do unfortunately a few times. So if you had to give one healthy habit recommendation to other students, especially those just starting university, what would it be? Something simple, realistic, that people could start doing straight away. George, do you want to go first?
If I had to give one recommendation to a student who was either considering coming or who will be coming to Chichester University in September, my advice to them would be this: make time to balance things out. It's no use simply just saying, right, I'm going to spend one day devoted to coursework and then one day doing absolutely nothing. I don't think that would necessarily be beneficial in the long term. I think what would work better is if you basically make a little bit of time for one thing and then a little bit of time for another thing back to back, because that way at least you could say, well, I've made some progress here with my coursework, but at the same time I'm also making sure that I'm staying fit and healthy, or seeing friends, or hell, a little bit of gaming in the meantime with whatever it is you do. I don't really know, but yeah, that's pretty much what I would say if I was talking to a student who was going to be coming here in September.
Lovely, thank you. And Jess, what would your top tip be?
I definitely agree with the balance, and it's also, I think it's quite important to set yourself like small manageable goals for the week or the day, just to keep yourself on track.
Yeah, lovely. Well, speaking of small goals, so for me, I find it's the small habits that really make the difference. So things like getting fresh air, going for a walk. You both spoke about going for runs and stuff, but sometimes it doesn't need to be as big as that. Even just, putting on a comfort show or playing your favorite video game, guilt-free, can really make the difference. I think it's also really important that you do reach out for help. So we mentioned earlier, student wellbeing, academic advisors, because, when you come to university, you are an adult, but you're not expected to do everything perfectly the first time. It's a place to learn, it's a place to grow. So also getting that help when you need to, can be really important.
You are definitely right on that part.
Yeah.
So what I think this conversation's shown is that there's no one perfect routine, is there? From doing smaller habits to bigger habits, from being social with your swim team or going for walks as and when you need. Simply just getting outside, it can really support your energy, your focus, kind of give you that time off, but it's important that it's guilt-free as well when you do it. So if you're thinking about coming to the University of Chichester or want to have a look around at what more we have to offer, you can book an open day or have a VIP campus tour with us to see the university in your own eyes. So just visit chi.ac.uk/open day. For the next podcast, we'll be talking through your campus confessions, so make sure to tune in for that one. And thank you so much to our guests for sharing your experiences, and thank you for listening.